Howdy, tech folk. Welcome back to the folksiest tech channel on the planet. Tech of Tomorrow. Me and my pet Wilbur. Yes. Alright, now I'm just messing with y'all. What's going on? Glad to see you guys back here once again on Tech of Tomorrow. Elric, your host. Now, what's going on today? Got the Silverstone SST FT04B, which means black with window. Now, this is a pretty damn cool full tower case. It's made of jet aluminum all on the outside. Interior made of solid, good solid steel. That's right, steel like Superman, because he's super, you know what I'm saying? And it's just all in all, it's a really cool case. Now you guys are gonna go, very interesting stuff. Now, this thing's not really totally geared for doing like water cooling. You guys will see that the back doesn't have like the little round holes and stuff for putting all the tubes through. Not everybody uses that, but still, usually cases that are geared towards that'll do that. But you can use an all-in-one system in this pretty easily, which we actually do. We were able to get a hold of one from Silverstone and we installed it inside the case quite nicely. This thing's pretty expandable. It's about 200 bucks. It's got a window. I think you guys are gonna like it. So with that said, let's jump in and let's take a look at this damn thing. So let's just start off right here on the front, where we can see that everything externally is made out of black aluminum. Now this is aircraft aluminum. It's made of very high quality material. On the internal, the actual chassis itself is made of steel. Now you guys can see they have their little snowflake logo up there on the top. As we traverse over to the right side, we can see there's two USB 3.0 ports, a microphone port, and a headphone port. Now as we also traverse back to the left-hand side, we see the start, the reset button, and then here's just a full-blown side shot of the side of the case. Right here you guys can see, here is the manual and the accessories box. The little black things you see inside of here, these are actually to hold in your extended video card. You can use up to 13.5-inch video cards, and these things are used to hold them in. All of their screws and necessary parts are also located in the side of this box. So now we're taking a look at the back. Now here at the bottom, you can see there is a single slot right here for a 120mm fan. Also to the right of that, that's where your actual I/O is going to be, your rear I/O of your motherboard, because Silverstone does things a little bit different. They actually turn these things upside down, so it's quite interesting. As we move up the rear of the FT04B, you guys can see there's 8 expansion slots, and then above that is the power supply. Now, one thing to be noted, that it says that it doesn't matter what length of power supply you want to use, this case will accommodate it. Here we take a quick look at the bottom of the case, where you guys can see there's 4 rubberized feet, and all the little indentations and things that you see are actually for the inside of the case, where you can actually fit 4 2.5 SSDs in the bottom down there, or hard drives, whatever you want to choose. Taking a quick look at the top of the case, you can see at the bottom of the picture that this right here is the vent for the power supply is going to be, and up at the top on the left-hand side there, these are your power on and your HDD light. Okay, so now let's move back to the front of the case. Now we have the door slightly ajar right here, and as you guys can see, there's actually foam padding all along the inside of the door. There's also a dust filter, and currently there are 2 180mm fans. Now these are their air penetrator 182s. You guys can also see that the wiring harness for this is very simple and easy to use. And on top of that, you have the 2 external 5.25 bays. So I've now removed the back panel to the case, and we're going to start disassembling it slowly before we put everything back inside of it. Now, right here, you guys can see there's plenty of space for all of your cables and everything to go in and out of the case and be routed quite nicely. Also, all of the parts and everything back here are very nicely made. There's no sharp edges, nothing to cut your hands on, and nothing is actually too flimsy at all to make it junky. Now let's take a closer look at how much room we're going to have to do the cable management. As you guys can see from our measuring tape, you get actually about 1 inch of room in the back to do your cable management. Now, this should be optimal room for you guys to be able to hide all your cables and do all your cable management properly, to have a nice, clean, and elegantly built system. So now as we're looking straight into the case, we can see that we have the 3.5 hot swappable drive bays at the bottom, and to the left of that we have a drive cage for an additional 5. Now in this bay, you could fit up to 5 3.5-inch hard drives. We can also see the complete wire harness located here, including everything for your external USB, your speakers, your microphone, as well as the fans. Like I said though, before we actually build the system inside of the case, we're gonna basically gut it. So you guys can see at this point, we've gutted out all of the drive bays. The only bays that are available are the 2.5s, which are located on the very bottom. One thing that is cool about this, and Rodney Reynolds, you'll definitely give this a thumbs up, is yes, hoorah, the motherboard tray is removable. And as you guys can see, it's very clearly marked about the different types of motherboard that you're going to put in. So there's no guesswork whatsoever. Depending on the size you want to use, it's clearly marked. And the FT04 will use up to Extended-ATX motherboards. So it'll use all the way from the mini ITX all the way up to the big bad boys. Real quickly, let's bounce back to the front of the case. We've removed the dust filter, and you guys can see the 280mm air penetrator fans installed. We've also removed both of the drive bays from the 5.25 there on the top. Another thing that's really cool about the Fortress FT04 is its ability to be pretty much stripped down all the way to nothing. As you guys can clearly see, we've stripped this thing down to pretty much totally bare bones system. Now, one of the key things that these guys have talked about in their build is the chassis. It's made of really high grade steel, and the external is made of that high grade jet aluminum. You guys can clearly see the foam that's all along the front panel. For sound reinforcement, this same foam is located on the side panel of the case where the window is located and on the back. These are all made to keep the case running very, very quietly. So now that we've tore the system completely apart, let's start putting it back together. So let's start off by installing the two SSDs. And on the bottom, you can use up to 4 2.5-inch SSDs. We're only going to use 2 in our build because we've got some other plans for that space. Now, for our purposes, we've reinstalled one of the hot swappable 3.5 bays. This is where we're going to keep our Western Digital hard drive. Now, even though we're not going to configure the system this way, we thought we would show you guys what it looks like anyway. So here's the standard 3.5-inch drive bay reinstalled into the case, just so you can see it. So here's a real quick shot of the top with the power supply installed. Now, we went with the Silverstone 750 watt version. It fits in there pretty good. It's not that long, and it actually fits really nicely. Now, as we move back to the front of the case, we've used one of the 5.25 bays to install an optical drive. You guys can see, here's where we access the CPU from the rear of the case. And as we bounce around, you guys can see the rear I/O. And this motherboard mounts upside down a lot differently than other standard cases. One thing that Silverstone is known for is their unique way that they mount motherboards inside of their cases. So here's what the motherboard looks like just mounted inside the case. We had no problems at all installing the motherboard. We use an R9 290X video card for our build, and obviously we had to remove some screws and a couple brackets from the rear expansion in order for the card to fit in there. Now, like I said previously in the video, you can use up to 13.5-inch cards in this thing, so that's pretty incredible. Up to 13.5 inches long and up to 6 inches high, so pretty much the hugest, biggest, most craziest video cards in the world are going to fit inside of this case. So now, folks, is where things get a little bit interesting. Now, previously in the video, I told you that you could use a different type of configuration with the fans, and so we're here to show you that now. We used the Tundra Series TD02 all-in-one Silverstone liquid cooler for this build, and that has 2 of its own 120mm fans built into the rad. Now, on the bottom, we have a single 120mm fan now that's moving the air through the system. Now, one thing to take serious note of is that the TD02 didn't just mount natively in here. We had to do some slight modifications to make this bad boy fit. Now, this wasn't anything that you got to go out and do any type of crazy mods for, but we did have to use long bolt and a nut to be able to make it to work. We didn't have any just screws that could screw in there. So taking a look inside the case, you can see that everything is very, very easily and simply installed. Now, we've also moved some stuff around. Like I said, we were going to include and keep one of the hot swappable 3.5-inch bays. We've now moved this over to the right-hand side, and we've moved the 2 SSDs over to the left-hand side. That's right, we shook up the boat. But beyond that, you can see this thing's very, very cleanly laid out. As we open the door, you guys can see clearly there are 2 indicator lights located on top. One is for the power and one is for the HDD. The FT04 also comes with 2 fan controllers, which are located down below the 2 5.25 external bays. The one on the left controls the intake, the one on the right controls the outtake, or you can reverse these if you so choose. The case door locks and unlocks by a set of magnets located on the right-hand side of the case. All right, folks, so we did something entirely different this time. Never actually did a case review this way before. We thought it was pretty interesting. We hope to actually improve upon it. So right off the bat, I want to say, hey, thank you guys for, sticking around to watching to the end. And let me hear your comments and stuff down below. If you guys like this, let us know by hitting that like button below. If there's things you didn't like, go ahead and please leave your comments and stuff like that down below, because we always want to hear. Well, anyways, there she blows. Your mom. I mean the case. So that's pretty much it. A little bit over 200 bucks, full tower. Lots of expansion. You guys can see you could probably fit 3 cards in SLI or Crossfire mode in there, whichever way you guys want to choose. You can use a big old huge power supply, Extended-ATX motherboard, so pretty much all the motherboards out there are going to fit inside of it. Overall, I think this thing is actually a pretty nice product. Now, some people around a box are going to be like, whoa, 200 bucks. But hey, when you're paying for high-end jet aluminum, like, hey, it's very expensive stuff. I mean, this thing actually is very, very nicely built. And that's one thing I want to really mention. When these guys set out to make this case, they were trying to hit 3 markets at one time. They were trying to get good looks, they were trying to get excellent cooling, and they were also trying to get it to be very silent. Hence all that foam padding that you saw on the doors and the back of the sides of the cases and all that stuff. And those respects, they've succeeded. So make sure before you complain and go, take a look at all the different things that they were trying to hit upon, and I think they succeeded. Now, is it like the Mona Lisa, the most, interesting thing in the entire world? No. But is it very elegant, simple, and nice? Yes, it is. Everything's very easy accessible. The door very easily opens. All your reset and power buttons, all the stuff from the side. So at the end of the day, I gotta say, I like this case. Hope you guys too. Want to see your comments down below. Once again, if you're interested in making a system like this, all of the parts that we're using in the system will be listed down there below in the description. So you hit that little show more button down there. It will bop on down where you guys can see links to all that stuff. The case, all the parts. So if you want to mimic it, hey, cha-ding, cha-ding, you can. Peace out. Love to see you guys back here on the channel. Later.